If you are someone who is constantly working with numbers in Excel, then this video is definitely for you. In this video, we are discussing 10 different formulas and functions that help us to solve problems related to huge quantities of numerical data. Hello learners and welcome back to Constant Learners. I hope you're all doing well. All of these formulas and functions that we are going to discuss in this video are interdependent to each other. That is why we are going to start with the basic one and then get to the complicated or the difficult ones. Alright. Also, I have posted the timestamps in the description box. You can also jump to another part or portion of the video if you wish to. First one is to calculate the percentage of goal achieved. Now this is very easy. In this table, we have a list of employees in column A. In column B, we have the expected amount that we are expecting the employees to make. This is what we are expecting from them. Then in column C, we have the list of actual amount that the employees have made by the end of a month. What we have to calculate is the percentage of goal achieved. The formula is very simple. We have to divide the actual value by the expected value, that is C2 divided by B2 and enter. Now we have already calculated, we've already selected percentage here, so we are getting the values in percentages. We're going to copy the formula into rest of the cells and you can see that here we expected 100 but made 200 and that is why the percentage received is 200. We expected 500 but we made less, so it is 60%. But here in row number 4, we are getting an error, that is hashtag dividing by 0. So we know that mathematically it is incorrect to divide a number by 0 because we have taken expected value for Chubby 0 because I did not expect her to make anything and yet she's making $150. So this brings us to our second formula, that is dividing a number by 0. Now let's say I do not want Excel to display the error, that is dividing by 0. Instead, I want Excel to give me a message, that is maybe cannot divide or maybe dividing by 0. So for that we are going to use the if function here. Okay. Now if function has a condition. If the condition is true, then we want Excel to perform an operation. If the condition is false, then we want the Excel to perform some other operation. Okay, so let's see how we can use the if function. If function requires 3 arguments. First one is the condition, that is if the denominator, that is b2, is equal to 0. In the second argument, we need to specify what needs to be done if the condition is true, that is if b2 is equal to 0, I want to display NA, that is not applicable, so I'm going to display the message NA and I'm going to put it within the double quotes. For the third argument, we need to specify what needs to be done if this condition is false. That is, if B2 is not equal to 0, then of course we need to divide the actual value by the expected value. That is C2 divided by B2. And we've got the answer. Let's copy it into the rest of the cells. And you see now in row number 4, wherein we had to divide it by 0, we get the message NA, that is not applicable. I hope that this was clear. Now let's get to the third function, which is the convert function. Using the convert function, we can convert a number from one unit into another unit. Like here, I have to convert meter into meter, feet and yard. Feet to again meter, feet and yard, and yard to meter, feet and yard. Okay, so for this I'm going to use the convert function. Now convert function also requires 3 arguments, out of which the first one is the number. In this case, I am converting 1 meter to feet and to yard. So I am going to use the number 1. For the second argument, we need the from unit. That is, we have to convert from which unit? So I have to convert from B2. So I am selecting B2 for the second argument. And for the third argument, we need 2 unit, that I have to convert from meter to meter in C1. And we've got the answer. So 1 meter will be 1 meter only. Now let's see if I copy this formula down, what happens. See, B2 is changing to B3, which is fine. That is B2 meter is changing to feet. That is fine. But C1 is changing to C2, which I do not want. If you observe in column B, The column is staying fixed, only the row number is changing. So to fix the column, we are going to use F4 and add a dollar sign before B, okay? And $B makes the column fixed. However, the row will keep changing. Now for C1, you can see that the row number is fixed, but the columns are changing from C1 to D1 to E1, and that is why we have to fix the row number. So we are going to add a dollar sign before the row number, that is 1, and enter. Now let's copy this formula and paste it using paste formula into the rest of the cells, and you can see that we've got the result. Also, it is very important to take care of the abbreviations, that is M is for meter, so you have to use M only. FT is for feet, so you have to use FT only. You can visit this website on supportmicrosoft.com, and here you can see which units you can convert to which other units. There are also abbreviations given, like for day it is DAY or D, so you have to use that only. You cannot use any other word or any other letter for any unit. So I have to convert 1 year to days, right? I'll use the convert function here. The first argument is going to be number 1 because I have to convert 1 year into days, comma, then select the cell B8, that is YR. The third argument is going to be C7, that is day. So we have to convert 1 year into days. So we are getting an error here. Why do you think we are getting an error? Because day, DAY, is in small letters, and here I've written day in a capital D, which is not correct. Alright, let's correct day and then use the formula, and now you can see that we've got the correct answer. We know that 1 year is equal to 365 days. Alright, similarly we can convert the day into hour, minutes and seconds. Let me know if you've understood by writing the formula in the comment section below. I hope that it was clear. Let's head to the fourth function, that is the round function. Let's say I have a lot of data with unnecessary digits and a lot of decimal values, and I need to look at clean and rounded numbers, okay? Something that is very precise. For this we need to use the round function. Now round function takes two arguments. First one is the original value, the number that we have to round off, okay, that is B2 in this case. Now second argument is the number of digits that we have to round to. Let's say here I don't want any decimal digits, okay, I want 0 in the decimal places. So I'm going to pass the second argument as 0, okay, and enter. Now you can see that after the decimal point I have only zeros. Let's copy and paste that, and we've got the result. Now let's say I need the value only until the first decimal place, okay. So again we start with the round function. The first argument is going to be B2. In the second argument I'm going to write number 1 because I want the value to be until the first decimal digit, right. So here you can see 85 has converted to 90, right. Then 0.74 has converted to 0.70, 0.05 has converted to 0.10, and so on. Now let's say I want to round off the digit before the decimal point, okay. So for that again we use the round function. First argument will be B2, and in the second argument we are going to use -1, okay, -1, that is the number before the decimal point. So you can see that 756 has converted or rounded off to 760. Then 832 has converted to 830, and so on. Similarly, if I take -2 as the second argument, 2 digits before the decimal point will be rounded off. So first argument will be B2, and then second argument is -2. You can see that 756 has converted to 800. 2 digits before the decimal point has been rounded off. Again, if I take -3 as the second argument, of course 3 digits will be rounded off. Let me show you that quickly. You can see that 3 digits before the decimal point have been rounded off. 8,756 has converted to 9,000, 5,832 has converted to 6,000, and so on. Now let's say I want to round off the original value only to the higher value, to the higher side. So we can use the round up function for that. Round up function will always round up the number to the higher side. Let's take the first argument as B2, and let's say I don't want any digits after the decimal point, so second argument as 00. You can see that 756 has converted to 757, okay. Then 832 has converted to 833. 569 has converted to 570, 898 will stay as it is, 127 to 128. Similarly, we can convert the original value to lower side, okay, that is rounded off to a lower side. For that we use the round down function. First argument will be the original number. Second argument I'll take 0 only. Now you can see 756 has stayed as it is, 832 has stayed as it is, because that is the lowest rounding off. I hope that this was clear. Let's get to the fifth function, that is the count function. Let's say in column A, I have the list of employees, and these employees have submitted reports in the month of January, February, March, April and May. Okay. In January, Asha submitted 2 reports, February no reports, March 1. April she submitted a report but that was rejected, and in May she submitted 3 reports. Similarly for the rest of the employees. Now I have to calculate in how many months the reports were submitted, both accepted reports as well as the rejected reports. That is, I have to count the cells that contains both text as well as the numbers. For that we use the count A function and select the range. Count A function counts both the text as well as the number cells. Now we are copying it into rest of the cells, and you can see that we've got the number of cells that contains data, the total number of cells that contains data. In column H, I have to calculate the number of months in which the reports were accepted. That means I don't want to include the rejected reports. So I have to count only the numbers, the cells that contains numbers. For that we use the count function, select the range, and you see there are 3 cells in row 2 that contains the numbers, so I'm getting 3 there. Then in the row 4 there are only 2 cells that contains the numbers, that is why I'm getting 2 there. Now I have to count the months in which no reports were submitted, neither accepted reports nor unaccepted reports. Okay, so for that I am going to use the count blank function. Okay, count blank counts the number of blank cells. Alright, we're going to select the range and enter. Now you see that here in the row 2 I only have 1 cell that is blank. In row 4 I have 2 cells that are blank, and in row 6 also I have 2 cells that are blank. Okay, so I'm getting that answer. Alright, so count A counts all the cells containing data, count counts only the cells that contains numerical data, and count blank counts only the blank cells. I hope that this was clear. Number 6 is to calculate a percent increase or decrease to values. Now it is a very common task for an Excel analyst to apply percentage increase or decrease to a particular value, right? Let's say here we have a product whose price is $200, okay? And the price of this product has increased by 10%. So how do we calculate the final price of the product? Since here the value is increasing, we have to find the final price for 100% plus 10%, that is total 110%. That is why we start with an equal to sign, open a bracket and add 1 to the 10%, that is cell B2, right? So here we are taking 1 plus B2. We are going to close the bracket and we are going to multiply this whole thing with the original price of $200, that is cell A2. Now we've got the final price after the price has been increased by 10%. Next is to calculate the percent decrease. So we have a price of $200 which has been reduced by 10%, and we have to calculate the final price. Alright. To calculate the increased price, we added 1 to percentage increase, right? And multiplied the whole thing with the original price. Now to calculate the decreased price, we are going to start with an equal to sign. And first we are going to subtract the decreased price from 1. That is 1 minus B5. That is 1 minus 10%. Okay. Bracket close. And now we are going to multiply this whole thing by A5. That is the original price of the product. And we've got the answer, that is $180, which is the reduced price, the price that has been reduced by 10%. I hope that this was clear. Number 7 is to calculate the running total. Now running total means what? It is nothing but addition, right? In cell C2, I will get only cell B2. But in cell C3, I'll get the sum of B2 and B3. In cell C4, I'll get the sum of B2, B3 and B4. In cell C5, I'll get the sum of B2, B3, B4 and B5. Alright, so that is how running total works. That is, in the last cell, that is C13, we'll get the sum from B2 to B13. In C12, we'll get the sum from B2 to B12. Okay. So we are going to start with the sum function and we are going to specify the range. Now for cell C2, we will only need B2, right? So the range will start from B2 and end at B2 itself. Now let's see what happens if we copy this formula into the next cell. I'm just getting B3, but I need the sum of B2 and B3. If I copy it further, I'm just getting B4, right? The cells that I have considered in my range are relative cell references, right? I need to make one of those absolute cell reference. Now we know that the starting point of the range is always fixed, right? That is B2. However, the ending cell in the range is changing, right? So what do I need to do is I have to make the starting B2 in my sum function as a fixed, that is an absolute cell reference, right? That means I have to fix this cell. To make it absolute cell reference, we'll simply press F4 and now you can see that we have a dollar sign before B as well as before 2. Now this cell is fixed, okay? It's not going to change when we copy the formula. Now if you see, when we copy the formula, we are getting the sum from B2 to B3, right? If we copy it further, we get the sum from B2 to B4, right? Since B4 is a negative number, the value is reduced, alright? The value of sum function has been reduced, but the sum is ranging from B2 to B4, okay? Now if I copy it further, you see in C7, I'm getting the sum from B2 to B7, alright? Now let's check the final, that is the last value here. In cell C13, I'm getting the sum from B2 to B13, right? There's also a second method to do this. I know that the first value is going to stay 180 only, right? But in the second cell, that is C3, I need the previous sum, that is 180 plus the new value, that is 210, right? Now, if I copy this formula down the line, let's see if it works or not. I'm getting correct values. For C11, you can see that we are adding the value in C10, the sum in C10 to the number in B11, right? We are just adding the previous sum to the new value in the cell, alright? I hope that this was clear. So these are the two methods by which we can calculate the running total, right? Now next up is to calculate percent distribution. For example, here in the table, I have the profit earned in different continents, right? And I have to calculate the percentage distribution of profit in each continent, right? Now, if I have to calculate the percent distribution of profit in each continent, obviously I'll have to calculate it over the total profit earned, right? The calculation here is very simple. To calculate the percentage profit distribution for Asia, we have to divide the profit earned in Asia by the total profit earned. To calculate the percentage profit earned in Africa, we have to calculate the profit earned in Africa by the divided by the total profit that has been earned, right? So we first need to calculate the total profit that has been earned, and we can calculate the total profit simply by using the sum function, right? So here I'm using the sum function. I'm going to select the whole range for this. So the total profit earned in all the continents is $12,800, right? Now if I have to calculate the percent distribution of profit for Asia, we've already selected the values to be in percentage, right? So we're going to start with an equal to sign, then B2, that is the profit of Asia, divided by the total profit earned, right? The sum of the total profit in every continent, that is B10, okay? And enter, and we've got the value to be 15.63%, okay, for Asia. Now if I copy this formula down the line, what will happen? I'm getting error, that is dividing by 0. Why? Because the cell references are changing. I am dividing by B10, but I want this cell B10 to be fixed, to be absolute cell reference. B10 should not change. So we are going to simply use F4 to change the cell reference from relative to absolute, right? That is, we are adding dollar sign before B as well as before 10, alright? And we've got an absolute cell reference here. Now if we copy the formula down the line, we are getting perfect results. How to check if our values are correct or not? Simply take the sum of all of these profit percentages. The answer should be 100. If the answer is 100, that means our answers are correct and we've got 100%. Alright. Now there's also another way of doing it. Rather than calculating the total separately, we can simply divide the profit of that particular continent to the sum of this particular range. Let's see how we can do that. Start with an equal to sign. Now we have to divide B2. For Asia, we have to divide B2 and divide it by the sum function. We're going to use the sum function and select the range of all the profit values because we need the sum of all of these values, right? And enter. So this is in currency right now. Let me convert it into percentage. Alright, now we've got the correct result. Now let's copy the formula down the line, and I'm not getting the correct values. Here I'm getting 7.41, 13.16. Why is that? Because the cell references used in the sum function are changing, right? Because they are relative cell references. So we have to make them absolute cell references. So simply we are going to get to the sum function in the first cell, that is C2, and we are going to change the cell B2 to absolute cell reference, that is $B, $2, and the range is ending at B8, and we are also going to make B8 to be the absolute cell reference. Just press F4 and we get $B, $8. Now if we copy the formula down the line, it's not going to change the answers, right? You can see 6.25, 23.44, and we've got all the correct values. Alright, so these are the two ways to calculate the percent distribution of a particular area's profit. Okay, I hope that this was clear. Now next up is to calculate the percentage variance, right? Variance is nothing but the difference between two numbers. Okay, now which two numbers? To be very precise, to be very simple, we are subtracting new value minus the old value, right? Now here on the table, on the screen, you can see that in column A, I have the names of the companies, that is A, B, C and D, and I'm expecting these companies to earn me some profit by the end of the month, right? So the expected values are in column B, right? Now in column C, I have the achieved values, right? So the expected was $200 for A, but what it has achieved is $300. Expected value for company B was $300, but it has achieved a profit of $200, and so on. Now to calculate the percentage variance is very, very simple. We just subtract new value minus the old value, and we divide this whole subtraction by the old value. Okay, so we start with an equal to sign, select the cell C2 because this is the new value, that is the achieved value, minus the old value, that is the expected value, that is cell B2, bracket close, and we divide this whole subtraction by the cell B2, that is the expected value. Alright, so from 200 to 300, expected was 200, but we've achieved $300, so obviously the percentage variance is 50%. Now for company B, the expected was $300, but we've achieved $200, right? So that means we have a loss, that is why we are getting the negative value, right? Also for company D, we are suffering a loss, that is why we are getting a negative value. Alright, so I hope that calculating percent variance was clear, right? Now we are getting to the final, that is 10th part of our video, which is dealing with the negative numbers. On screen you can see that in column A I have loss, okay, and since it is loss, I'm denoting with a negative $2,000. Alright, so I was expecting a loss of $2,000, but instead I earned a profit of $3,000, right? So since I've earned the profit, it is understood that I should be getting the positive value, the positive percent variance, right? We know the formula of percent variance. We start with an equal to, bracket open, the final value, that is B2, minus the expected value, that is A2, divided by the expected value, that is A2. Now you can see that we are getting a negative percent variance. Negative percent variance indicates a loss, but in this case I am having a profit, right? So I need to get the positive value. Now we know that this negative value is because of the negative denominator, that is A2, right? So what can we do to correct this percent variance? In the formula for percent variance, we are going to add an absolute function in the denominator, right? We're going to start with an equal to sign. We know that we have B2 minus A2, bracket close, divided by. Now here, rather than directly writing A2, we are going to add an absolute function, that is ABS, and in this we are going to add the cell number A2, and now you can see that we've got our final positive percent variance. I hope that this was clear. If you enjoyed watching the video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, let me know which formula or function will be the most useful for you. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more such amazing content. I post shortcuts about Excel almost every single day. Share this video with as many people as you can, and thank you so much for watching.